This high school outcast thought he was an average boy, but he is actually the Norse god, Thor Reborn. The next morning, after spending the night at the Utools, Magne goes for a run and contemplates what he saw in the mirror. He suspects that there was something the mead they gave to him. Meanwhile, Vidar says to the rest of the Utool family that they must destroy Magne. Ron is hesitant to take this step because they have already drawn a lot of attention toward themselves. Saxa sides with Vidar and Fjord sides with Ran. He says that they don't know for sure if Magne is a god or a giant. They just know he's a being from the old world. Hence, they must confirm before they move to kill him. Magne comes home, and Loritz guilts him into confessing to Turid that he got drunk. Magne looks up mead on the internet and finds out that it is a drink prominently mentioned in Old Norse stories. He finds a picture of an old woman touching Thor's forehead to give him his powers, and he remembers that the old woman from the store touched his forehead when he first arrived in Edda. Turid arrives at Rand's office and has a heated discussion with her over why she and her family got Magne drunk. Magne arrives at the store and meets the old woman. He asks the old woman what she has done to him, and she replies that she has done nothing. All of this was inside him all along, and she has only opened his eyes. Magne tells her that he looked into the mirror and saw someone else, and she confirms for him that he saw Thor. He says that he is not Thor, but the old woman replies that the giants are still here, and they are destroying the earth. She says that what he has now is an opportunity, and his actions will decide what happens next. The next day, in class, Eric announces that they will be taking a trip up to the mountain named Ginnungagap, where according to Norse mythology, the world was created. Eric asks who the giants were in Norse mythology, and one girl replies that they were the bad guys of the story. Saxa responds that that is a narrow and false view of the story. The giants were actually regarded as gods by humans before the Norse gods arrived. Turid meets Eric at a restaurant, and she asks him if he will be okay going up into the mountains, since that is where his late daughter Isolde died. Eric admits that it will be difficult for him, because he and Isolde used to go there all the time. At school, Magne's chemistry teacher confirms his suspicion that there were two different blood types on Isolde's jacket from the day she died. One belonged to her, and the other to an animal. In class, a new girl named Iman arrives. Magne and Gry present the main arguments of their paper, which blame Jutal industry factories for all the environmental problems in Edda, and their financial power for the fact that nothing is ever done about it. Saxa argues that progress always has its downsides, but that doesn't mean that it should be stopped. She gives the example that car accidents kill millions of people every year, but they don't revert back to horses and carriages. They just make safer cars. Gry gets upset that Saxa doesn't even care about the fact that people like her father are dying of sickness because of the pollution in the city. The argument gets heated, and the teacher interrupts. Fjord and Saxa meet Magne in the hallway and try to speak to him in the ancient Norse language to see if he understands. Magne doesn't respond and walks away. Magne shows the proof of two different blood types on the jacket to Eric and tries to convince him that they should report this to the police, but Eric says this is no evidence at all. He tells Magne to drop this investigation. Vidar speaks with Ran and says that he will accompany her class on the trip up to the mountains. He will speak with Magne there to confirm if he is a god or a giant, and if he is a god, they will kill him there and make it look like an accident. The next day, Magne and Gry are hiking up the mountains, and Gry is surprised by how quickly Magne climbs without tiring at all. She is also amazed by how far Magne can see clearly. Magne spots a dead deer lying in the distance and goes to investigate it. Next, Magne joins the rest of the class who are playing Spin the Bottle, using Loritz as a bottle. Loritz points at Magne and says that now he must answer his question honestly. He asks Magne the truth about his feelings for Gry. Magne admits that he loves her. Afterward, Gry tells Magne that he can't say stuff like that in front of people. Magne says that it's the truth. Gry says she is sorry because she doesn't think of Magne like that. She adds that she is in love with Fjord. Heartbroken, Magne is about to leave, but Vidar arrives and asks Magne to help him in cutting some meat. Magne is hesitant, but he agrees. Fjord arrives in Gry's tent and confesses to her that he likes her very much. He asks her to go paragliding with him, and she agrees. Meanwhile, Magne and Vidar are cutting up meat when Vidar notices that Magne is unusually proficient with a knife. He speaks to Magne in the ancient Norse language and asks if he understands it. Magne replies in the same language and says that he knows what Vidar did. He adds that Vidar will pay for it. Next, Magne notices that Jirai has left with Fjord and rushes after her. Vidar confirms to Ran that Magne is indeed a threat, and he sends his hound to find and kill Magne. He tells the hound to become the glorious and powerful beast it once was. Meanwhile, Eric arrives at the glacier where Isolde last came. He finds the water sample she took from the glacier and her phone, which she hid there. Magne is running after Fjord and Gry when he is attacked by Vidar's hound. The hound is incredibly strong, and it bites Magne on the arm. Just then, Magne's inner Thor awakens, and he rips the hound's jaws apart, killing it. Fjord brings Gry home, and the two spend some quality time together. Fjord is very respectful to Gry, which leads to her kissing him, and the two making out. Vidar finds the dead body of his hound, and he is devastated. Magne finds Gry cuddling naked with Fjord, and he is devastated. Gry wakes up and goes through the Jutul household. She goes into Vidar's office and finds pictures of the Jutuls from centuries ago, which obviously make no sense to her. Fjord arrives and sternly tells her that she can never ever come into this room again. A bloodied Magne arrives home, and Turid panics upon seeing him. Turid asks Magne what happened, and Magne explains that he was attacked by the Jutul's dog, except the dog was different. It was bigger and stronger than before, and it had yellow eyes. Turid says his story makes no sense because he has no wounds of any kind. Magne says he had wounds. They just healed very quickly. Turid suspects that someone has slipped Magne some kind of drugs. Next, the police arrive, and just like Turid, they don't believe Magne's story either. They connect the hammer that landed in Vidar's car before with the killing of the dog and deduce that Magne has some kind of personal grudge against the Jutuls. The police captain says that the dog's murder is so brutal that it looks like some kind of ritual killing. She warns Turid that there will be legal consequences for this. Magne is frustrated that no one believes him. He doesn't know what to do with the powers and responsibilities he has now. He decides that he will work like Isolde did and try to expose the Jutuls for all the harm they are causing to the environment. His next step is to find strong evidence against them. At the Jutul house, Vidar prepares to kill Magne, but Ran says that he will do no such thing. Vidar slaps her, and they are about to fight when Ran's friends arrive outside. She leaves, and Vidar continues his preparation. Fjord tells Vidar that everyone in the town knows Magne killed their dog. Hence, if he is found murdered with an axe, everyone will blame them. He says that they have all the authorities in their pocket, and they can deal with Magne much more easily, without drawing attention to themselves. Vidar agrees, but isn't happy about it. Saxa has similar sentiments. Before leaving Vidar's office, Fjord notices one of Gry's earrings lying there. At school, the police inform Magne that the Jutuls have agreed to not press charges against him in order to allow him to finish his school year. However, he will have to agree to certain terms. He will have to visit the school psychologist much more often, and his access to social media will be banned. Furthermore, the police will be keeping a close eye on him. Saxa finds Gry's earring, and she lashes out at Fjord for bringing her into their home, and especially for letting her wander into Vidar's office. She angrily inquires what is going on between Fjord and Gry, and Fjord lies that he just wanted to make love to her, and nothing else. Gry meets up with Magne and tries to offer an explanation for her and Fjord's relationship, but Magne doesn't want to hear it. Eric meets Magne and tells him about Isolde's phone and the water sample he found up at the glacier. The phone is dead and not charging, but he gives the water sample to Magne. Ran watches this interaction. While Magne and GRI work on their paper, Magne says that Isolde sent emails to environmental organizations, and they reported high levels of the poisonous chemical cadmium in the water in Edda. He bets that if they analyze the sample from the glacier, they'll find cadmium in it too. Gry is uncomfortable, and Magne says he understands if she doesn't want to speak against the Jutuls anymore because she is dating Fjord now, but he knows that Isolde was right about Jutul Industries. The next day, Magne works while a sports class is going on at school. Iman comes and sits with him, and they have a curious little chat. Next, Saxa sits with Magne, and Magne points out that Saxa thinks she is better than everyone. Saxa asserts that she is. She says that it's the way of the world, that the wolves eat the lambs. Magne replies, "Not if someone protects the lamb." Saxa mocks him, saying that he couldn't even protect Isolde. Mange gets angry and grabs Saxa, but she throws him back several feet. She warns him that he is all alone and no one is going to help him. Not even his pretend girlfriend Gry Magne says that Gry is not his girlfriend. She is with Fjord. Saxa is shocked at this revelation. Next, Magne gives the water sample from the glacier to his chemistry teacher and requests her to check it for cadmium. She is hesitant to help him because he now has the reputation of a psychologically unstable person, but she eventually agrees. Fjord arrives at Gry's house to return her earring. He notices that her father is very sick. Gry tells Fjord that her father's sickness doesn't let him work. He asks if he gets financially compensated, but Gry says he's been refused insurance money because the company claims he got sick from smoking and not from exposure to chemicals at Jutul Industries, which is where he worked. Fjord appears mildly upset at this. Turid meets Eric at the restaurant again and invites him over for dinner. Saxa arrives home and lashes out at Fjord for actually dating Jirwai when they know they are not supposed to have too close contact with humans. She slaps him, and they have a fight, which Fjord loses. Saxa orders him to break up with Gry at once, or the consequences will be severe. Next, Turid reads the paper Magne is writing for the class and notices that it is very anti-Jutul Industries. She gets worried that if he turns it in, he could get in trouble with the authorities. Magne says that Jutuls are getting away with all the damage to the environment because they are rich and powerful. It's unfair, hence, he will turn the paper in. The next day, at school, Turid goes behind Magne's back and informs the authorities. Magne is summoned for a meeting where he learns that Eric has informed the authorities that Magne has Isolde's old laptop, which is full of materials against the Jutuls. The psychologist says that Magne cannot separate fact from fiction, and the laptop is taken away from him. Magne also learns that the chemistry teacher has snitched on him. He is devastated that he can't trust anyone anymore. He comes out of the meeting and tells Gry that she has to rewrite the paper by herself. Magne meets the chemistry teacher. She says that Rand forced her to snitch on him, but he was right. There was cadmium in the water sample. At home, Magne lashes out at Turid for betraying him. Eric arrives for dinner. He tries to speak to Magne, but Magne is angry at him too. He tells Magne that he's managed to turn on Isolde's phone, but it is locked, and asks Magne if he can unlock it. Saxa informs Vidar about Fjord and Gry, and he is outraged. Fjord meets with Gry, and Gry tells him that she can't be with him, because the more she learns about Jutul Industries, the more she despises his family. Fjord tries to argue that that is not him, but she doesn't listen. She leaves. Magne is trying to guess Isolde's password, and he remembers that she had a crush on Saxa. He types in her name, and it works. He finds the pictures and videos that Isolde made of the secret Jutul tunnel in the glacier. He decides to go there immediately. Inside the tunnel, Magne finds a storage room that contains thousands of barrels of chemical waste, which are leaking into the glacier water, and through it, making their way into everyone's drinking water. He finally has hard evidence. Meanwhile, Vidar is going through his photo album, and he notices that one of the pictures is missing. The next morning, Magne arrives at the tunnel in the glacier with the police captain and Eric. Vidar is already there, and the police captain says that she called him because the Jutuls own this part of the mountain, and they can't be here without their permission. Vidar asks Magne what he thinks he saw in here, and Magne lays it out. Vidar takes them inside and shows them that the storage room is empty. Magne is shocked. At school, Ron announces that Magne has been suspended because he is being psychologically evaluated. All students can tell that this might simply be happening because Magne speaks against the all-powerful Jutuls. Both Gry and Lauritz appear upset. Vidar arrives home and shows Fjord the missing picture in his album. He slaps Fjord for allowing Gry into their home, but Fjord insists that she is not the one who stole the photo. Turid arrives home, and Magne lashes out at her for not believing him and not taking his side throughout all this. Turid gets upset and goes to the store to buy lots of snacks for herself. The old woman tells her to not succumb to the darkness because the light is on its way. Turid doesn't understand and just gets angrier. She gives in to her depression and lays around snacking and watching TV. Next, Turid arrives at the hospital with Magne for his psychiatric evaluation. Meanwhile, Lauritz runs into Ron at a salon and asks her if he can give the student speech at this year's Constitution Day. After she leaves, he tells the salon lady that he wants to go blonde. At night, Fjord overhears Vidar on the phone. He is talking to someone about shipping all the barrels of toxic waste out of Edda. Next, Fjord arrives at Gry's house and offers her father 250,000 kroners, the money that the insurance company should have paid him. Gry's father refuses the money on principle, but the gesture wins Gry's heart. She agrees to hang out with Fjord again. Fjord is moved by the strong principles of Gry and her father. Meanwhile, Gry comments on how Fjord and his entire family look unusually perfect. She returns the picture she stole from Vidar's album and apologizes for taking it. Fjord begins to offer an explanation for the picture, but Gry interrupts him. She doesn't seem to need one. Fjord says he doesn't want to be perfect. He just wants to be a good person like Gry. Magne is diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and offered medication. He is sitting with Turid when Fjord, who is driving back home, spots him. Fjord tells Magne that he was right about the barrels. He informs Magne that those barrels are going to be shipped out of Edda tonight. Turid offers Magne his medication, but Magne refuses to take it. Fjord arrives home and secretly places the picture back into the album, but he is caught in the act by his family. They tell him he has betrayed their trust, and to gain it back, he must tie all loose ends and kill Gry. Meanwhile, Magne arrives at the Utul factory and sees the barrels being transferred to a ship. Constitution Day arrives, and at the ceremony, Magne sees the Utul family looking at Gry strangely. During the ceremony, Vidar gets a text on his phone, and Magne smirks. Vidar arrives at the police station and finds the barrels lying out front. The police say they don't know who placed the barrels there, but they match the description that Magne gave before. The captain says this is illegal containment of chemical waste, and an investigation will be launched against Utul Industries. Back at the ceremony, Fjord leaves with Gry, and sensing that something is up, Magne follows them. Meanwhile, Loritz gives his speech while impersonating Ran. His entire speech is ironic, pointing out how Ran is a hypocrite who doesn't care about the youth, the environment, or Edda, as she says she does. Fjord takes Gry to an abandoned building and says he's sorry, but he has to do this, as his eyes glow yellow and he prepares to attack her. Magne arrives and brutally attacks Fjord. He is about to finish Fjord off when Gry stops him, claiming that Fjord is back in his senses now. Just then, Vidar arrives and calls Magne Thor while getting ready to fight him. The two battle it out, but Vidar is far stronger than Magne, and he dominates the fight. He mocks Magne, saying that maybe he is not Thor at all. Maybe he is just a scared little boy, just like his father was a scared little boy, just like Isolde was a scared little girl when he killed her. Upon hearing this, Magne is enraged. He reaches up to the sky screaming and brings down a massive surge of thunder and lightning. Both men are knocked unconscious. The old woman watches all this happen. She says that many believe Ragnarok was the end of all things, but in reality, it's where everything began. Magne's hand curls into a fist. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.